Welcome to the Art of Living by Design,
the podcast where consciousness meets action
and intention becomes reality.
We are your hosts,
Leisha Segboer
and Dwayne Tucker.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
My name is Leisha Segboer, and
I'm Dwayne Tucker. And we're here to just have a discussion about, monetary challenges that people might be having these days. We're seeing high gas prices. We're seeing high inflation due to the war that's going on right now. And it's an opportunity to discuss points that, people can really relate to. So, yeah.
So, on that, we could start with a conversation with family members. And one of the things they asked me, because I'm here in Canada, is Canada going through a recession? And, for me, it's, I guess, business as usual. People are living their lives. And a lot of time, government themselves, they do not use the word recession until it's actually dire circumstances where we're seeing things significantly being impacted by the economy. So,
Yeah.
But for me, one of the things I told my mom, because the one conversation is that, for me, recession for who, right? I mean, people will still live their lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Despite high gas prices, people still travel, they find a way, right? So, her view was that, some people are struggling. You see that people are buying less at the supermarkets, and for me, that is true, could be true, right? For some people, I'm not saying that isn't possible, but the argument comes up that how can we alleviate the stress of financial crisis, as some people will call it, still living your life and being able to do the things you love, being able to take care of yourself and your family, and not stressing about the uncertainties, or if there will be uncertainties.
Yeah, and whilst we do recognize that you have people from different backgrounds, different financial levels, it does affect each areas in different ways, and this is something that we really want to touch on, how money stress has influence on the nervous system, and really just boils down to us being in survival mode sometimes. So how do we discuss, how do we approach that? How can we improve, those experiences?
So I'm of the philosophy that we create our own destiny, right? And I have learned, so the old school philosophy is that you go to school, you get your degree, then, and because I'm from the Caribbean too, is like you have to pass all your exams. But then it's CXC, it might be called something else now, and then, or your A levels, go to university, get your degrees, later get a master's, maybe get a PhD, and work hard and strive, and you work Monday to Sunday. I mean, it's a continuous action pack. You have to just push through. If you want good, your nose have to run, right? And for decades, I work under that notion that, I have to work hard in order to succeed. Like, right, constantly work hard, break your back sort of hard.
Yeah.
And like you look around and you see like there are lots of people who are doing the same thing, but they still are living paycheck to paycheck. They still are barely making ends meet. Um, and for me, I was like, well, how do you continuously do that? What does success mean to me? What does liberation, freedom to do whatever you want to do? If you want to get up and you want to travel and you want to take your family, that you can do so and not worry about um, how you're going to pay for it, or you're going to be paying for it with a credit card, and then how you're going to pay off your credit card, right? So for me, it's a lot of mindset work. And one of the things is that we have been operating on this survival mode that, you have to continuously show up and show out. And no matter how tired you are, no matter how sick you are, and, 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 putting your best face forward,
Yeah.
even though, and which caused a lot of people to not be authentic. I remember saying that there's many faces of Leisha, like, in order to, um, I guess, keep up with the demands of the industry that I was in, and you know, the demands of the role and the expectations of the role, that I had different personas dealing with different people, which I was
Yeah.
actually taught. It's like you're flexing your style in order to be able to manage people, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
And sometimes what I do recognize to add to that, Leisha, is that um like we're grown to and thought to emulate, people, certain figures in the society, for instance, perhaps a police, for instance, or the prime minister, or a doctor, or lawyer, whatever that may be. And we don't necessarily find ourselves and be our true authentic selves.
uh,
We we tend to be like or try to be like other people, and
yeah,
that's where we tend to go wrong
the
sometimes.
fake it until you
Yeah,
make it mindset. Like, how many times have you heard that? Fake
yeah,
it until you make it.
yeah,
Um, so, for me, obviously, uh, my breaking point, or what I would say the huge catalyst for me, is going through a health crisis, um, and having to delve more a more in the more holistic approach to not just wellness but my entire lifestyle.
yeah,
And one of the things that I've learned is that it's all about balance in whatever you do, right?
yes,
um,
absolutely.
and it's what you think about it, and think the things that you put your energy in is what you actually create, right? You're actually good
Yeah,
at, right? Which
yes, that's
so
true.
what you put your effort in is what showcases you the best. So what was I putting my effort in? What was I putting my energy in? And I realized that a lot of the things, a lot of the conditioning um, around who I um, was about um, you know, you having the right degree, having the right relationship, having the right, career, making the right money, driving the right car, keeping up with the Joneses. Um,
Yeah,
and but it was that all making me happy? So I realized that it really just boiled down to self-love first and foremost. I know we're talking about finances, but I promise I have a point. Um, And
Yes,
then
self-love is a very important factor. And
so it starts with
yeah,
self, right?
yes.
So a lot of it was what did I truly want? Who was I beyond all that? Makeup, the suits, the nice dresses, the high heels, the title. Who was I beneath that? Um, and I realized that another thing is in being more self-aware. I also realized that sometimes you really just have to trust the process. Again, this is where the mind come in, right? So what you put your energy in is what you create. So in
So,
spiritual world
so,
is
so, Leisha, just
Mhm.
before you go further, self-awareness. Help the audience to understand what self-awareness really is.
I think self-awareness is knowing your thoughts and actions and the impact that it has on others and yourself. Um, so whether it's words spoken, whether it's thoughts that you have. So if word spoken meaning I'm broke, we're going to say Jamaican, say I'm broke, I'm in on the money, or
Yeah,
that's too expensive, or that is out of my price range, or I can't afford that right now. There are things that like that, or I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, you know if I have asked for too much, I'm just being greedy. Your relationship around it's like your relationship with the things you do, the things you say, your actions, as well as there's a direct correlations as in your relationship with others and being
yeah,
authentic. So that's
yeah,
what I
absolutely.
believe is self-awareness. And when you start to slow things down and really monitor your thoughts, your actions, your words, you'd be surprised on only things that you're saying to yourself, thinking about yourself, that is creating a block per se from you achieving what you really want.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
and
there's some people who don't
understanding.
even know what they really want. If you
Yes,
ask
yes,
them, they
yes,
have to pause and think about it. If the question asks, if money wasn't a concern, if you don't have to think about the price of gas, you don't have to think about your mortgages or your rent, if you don't have to think about bills, if you had enough to cover all that, then who are you? What would you do? Um, and how would all that impact you? Like, what do you really want? And when you ask that, sometimes people don't know. They really
yeah,
don't know.
and that's very true. That's very true.
They don't dare to dream. And I think that's another thing. People, it's like you're dreaming. It's reality. You're a big dreamer. I've been told that
Yeah,
as a kid, right? You stop the daydreaming. But when you sit and you're creating the life, you're imagining the life that you want to live, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's also the intention behind that imagination.
another point to note on self-awareness is, as Leisha would have been alluding to, is your thoughts, having full awareness of what you're saying, not letting any thought go by without noticing what you're really saying and the impact that can really have. That's powerful. And we'll learn that words are powerful. So be careful of what you're saying out there, guys. Yeah.
It's like you're putting it out there. Okay.
Yeah.
You could be
Yes.
asking God for something, or you're sending something else to the universe, and um, you're asking Him, you're praying that you want this is, please help me with this, please help me achieving this. And then you worry about it afterwards. But that's
Yeah.
counterproductive because you've there should be a trust and what people call faith, right? So you have your trust
Yes.
that you ask and he will handle that for you while you do
Right.
what you need to do to move forward. So
Exactly.
so it's and that's something that, I'm constantly working on, right? I'm not saying that, you're going to perfect it. It's the whole having faith, trust in the process, um, creating what you desire, truly desire,
Yeah.
um, and the knowing, not that special thing, that knowing that you have that, you will achieve it. I saw, so the Michael movie is out, right? And one of the things was, they discovered Jafar, which is Michael Jackson's nephew, talked about was, and they showed this in the film, was, um, he was big on affirmation, not just simply affirming the actions or whatever. He embodied it, and that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
So he will have
Absolutely.
these things about the posters, and he says that I am, which, the I am statement is always a powerful one, right? So when you start with I am, it's like it's like, for me, from your words to God ears, or the universe ears. So I always say, it doesn't just start, people will say, it's foo-foo and it's new age. But no, you know, decades of people um who has, read upon works like, Neville Goddard or Bob Proctor or Joe Dispenza, people like that who
Louis C. Yeah.
secret Louise L. Hay. So when you talk
Yeah.
about like the secret, they talk about to success, to finance it. There's another way. There's a simple way, but it's almost like what they talk about is it's almost like a secret, right?
Yeah.
Unless you know how truly you can succeed without the outwardly effort. As I mean, I'm not knocking that, right? I mean, people are passionate, people have their passion, and they're good at things, and they go out there. And then there's some people, yeah, they work hard for it, and then there's some people who they work hard for it and they don't get a chance to
Yeah.
enjoy. So
Yeah.
it really does.
So yeah, and what I wanted to do was to kind of tie the what you mentioned earlier about faith and prayer and then belief. So you're praying to God, the universe, that this is what you want. And then 2 days down the road, you're speaking something else, you know, into being, into the universe,
Mm-hmm.
into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the disconnect is. And that's what we need to now be aware of. We need to listen to the words that we're saying to ourselves.
Oh
Are
yeah.
you hearing the
And the
words that are coming out of my
consistency.
mouth? Right. So, yeah.
Exactly. So there
Yeah.
is
So,
there is a con there needs to be a consistency. No, now mind you, I'm not saying that, say for instance, um you want to achieve a pay raise at work, say, and you put an amount on it. So you want a $10,000 increase. Just saying out there. You're already doing the work, right? You know your self-worth, because you have to be comfortable and know that you're worthy, right? You can't have doubts and want it, because your doubts are going to be reflected, and somehow these people are going to know that, okay, she don't think she deserve it. Why should I, like, I don't need to convince her that she or he deserve it. She has to know she deserve it, and prove it to us, right? But
yeah.
in the meantime, if you're like, okay, this is my plan, right? This is how it is in my head, in my mind, and you think about it's like a creation. You're creating something, and then you're trying to put it to action in order to achieve that. I'm very goal oriented. And then, when you start off in your workplace and they do these personality assessments and everything, for me, I knew that I'm very goal oriented, right? So if I have a goal, if you give me a goal, and maybe it's the ego in order to try and achieve, I was trying to strive
Yeah.
to achieve it. But sometimes I realized that sometimes the goal wasn't even what I wanted. It's just because it's a goal out there and I just want to prove everybody else wrong so I'm going to achieve it. So, whatever you are desiring, it has to be something you truly want for yourself. And then you ask for it, you create it in your mind, you ask for it, and you embody the life you live, um, having achieved that goal. So, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled has never got out, I would say. So I think, and that it's not like you're consistently doing it, because then there's fear that will come up. Okay. And that's all a different part. It's fear, right?
Yeah.
Fear can't handle it. The fear, the lack will come up and it shows the head. And then you go back to it. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. You reflect on it, you look at it, you wonder why it comes up at this time. What's the lesson behind that? Um, and then you go back to
Yeah.
imagining and embodying what you truly desire. I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah, absolutely. So positive thinking is going to be key in this journey, and you know, you need to be able to identify positive thoughts, positive emotions,
sense. Mhm.
positive energy, and that's going to help you when you're able to identify when you're being positive versus when you're being negative, and to control or limit the negative thoughts. It's going to be difficult to remove it entirely, but it's not impossible. It can happen. It will happen if you work hard
Persistence.
enough towards it.
Persistence.
Exactly. With persistence, you'll certainly get there.
Yeah.
But the
It,
first
it
step is to be aware of your how you speak, if you're speaking positively versus negatively, attracting positive energy versus negative energy. And we'll get into that at some point in time. But being able to identify these differences, in the way we speak, the way we behave, is going to be key to master self-awareness.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things that I find is that I'll give you an example. Talking back to finance. I'm bringing up finances again. So we'll talk about, people, they will always say as soon as they have money in their hand, it's gone. It's like,
Hmm.
right? It's
Living
like,
from paycheck to paycheck.
no matter how much money you have a windfall and then it's gone, right? Something come up, like a whole heap of things come up. And I feel like, for me, I believe that money is energy, right? And a lot of time we, through our mindsets and our whole thought process, we sort of block that energy to flow, because you tie that into that energy, you tie that into having to pay bills, pay, your mortgage, your car payments, your utilities and all of that. So, people will say, oh, before I even get my paycheck, it's done, right? Those things are a negative self-thought. And I believe that sometimes we don't even some things are so ingrained that we don't even think about it, right? We say it
Yeah,
and not realize the impact that it has. So, people said, like, oh, I somebody just thought about me, and they, because I'm from the Caribbean, I will tell you, that somebody thought about me and they sent me um a birthday money. Okay. And for some reason, that birthday money, instead of being able to enjoy it for what it's intended for, bills just come up out of nowhere, car broke down, blah blah blah. And you wonder, what are you thinking as soon as you get the money, right? Are you
yeah,
thinking you're grateful for the money and you see yourself using it for what it is, or you start thinking about, boy, I'm gonna get the money. Let me see if I can stretch it and whatever, because those are all, limiting beliefs and living with
yeah,
lack, right? Because you
yeah,
think that you
and
think it will always end, so you
yes,
hold on tight.
exactly. So I was going to add to that to say, before we even receive the money, we're planning to spend it, right?
There you go.
And if we are thinking like that, then automatically, once you receive the money, it will be spent. And that's just how it works. So we have to put the ideas out there that we really want to achieve for ourselves. If we want abundance, that we have to think in abundance.
Abundantly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But it's not that too. That there's also, gratitude for the things that you do have, right? If you
yeah,
have that victim mindset, if you're always thinking about, the things that you don't have, or you're gonna be able to make that payment or whatever else, it's the small things, the small things that you should be grateful for. That is, people say when you get on your knees and you pray, you talk about the things that you're thankful for, that God has blessed you with, like you bless it.
yes,
For me, I take it a step further. I'm like, okay, I'm always like thanking thanking the universe, thanking source, thanking God, um, for all the blessings seen and unseen, right? Because sometimes there are things in the
mm,
works you just don't know, right?
yeah,
So it's the ability to be open to receive. So that's another thing. So not just giving, also being open to receive. Stop restricting ourselves and on where we think we should get our income. You just think your paycheck just has to be from your job, your 9 to 5, right? There's a lot of, I guess, untapped resources out there that you can get an income from, right? And I'm not just talking about the typical YouTuber and the Instagram post or whatever, right? There are things out there that sometimes our mind can't even fathom what those things are. But there are things out there that is there to help and support you. Um,
yeah,
but it's being willing to receive this, right? Without guilt, right? So that's another thing too, the shame. And we talk about relationship with money. Um, for some people, it's a means to an end, right? And some
yeah,
people will tell you, if you have too much, it's gluttony, it's too much, it's greed or whatever. But I feel like there is always a balance in how you, when it comes to perceiving money and its uses and its benefits, right? So um there's no shame if you have it. There's no shame if you don't, right? Some people are quite comfortable with their lot in life, and if that's be the case, that be the case. But I'm just saying, if you dream of something bigger, there's no shame around that, or there should be none.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
right. So, what's your thoughts? So, I always say, what's your thoughts around money? Because it is energy, right? And you don't want to block that from coming into your life. My
Yeah, good
perspective
start.
is spiritual, holistic perspective, of course.
Yes, yes. And I must say, so there's another, um, and you and I was having this conversation some time ago, Leisha, and I was saying to you, the that thinking of abundance is perfect, but we have to understand exactly what that means versus being sucked into consumerism, right?
Yeah,
And and consumerism, like there's tons of um different items out there
yeah,
that that's been marketed to you that you don't necessarily need.
you don't.
And you don't even want it. You just
No,
you
but
you
it,
just see it's most of the times these items are in trend, right? And people just think that they should have it because other people have it, not necessarily because you
bragging
want it.
rights.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
when you think about, all right, let's face it. How often do people upgrade their cell phones? Like, we're not talking about the practicality of it, where you know, with iPhones especially, after sometimes after a few like their uploads or upgrades or whatever they
Yeah, a
offer
few
sometimes.
generations. Yeah.
Yeah, then you don't have enough memory or whatever, right?
Mm,
It's it's not that. I'm talking about, you know, it's to say that okay, I have the newest, most recently released iPhone or iPad or their MacBook, right? It's all about keeping up with the Joneses, like flat screen TVs, like, there's a sale on flat screen, but you have like four a yard already. Like, do you really
yeah.
need one? But it's not the 60 something inch that you can put in. You don't even have the space that would accommodate that type of screen in terms of watching it. You'd be like up there, right, with it in here.
Mm,
But
exactly.
because you feel like having it means, oh, I've arrived, right? I'm not saying
Yeah.
so. I mean, hey, if you're like, okay, and I need to upgrade, you have a bigger house, a new room, I don't have enough, and you want a friend. I'm just saying, there's no judgment if if there are things that you think you like and you want. Like, it has to be something that gives you enjoyment. It has to be something that gives you real joy. It's not,
Yeah.
it should never be about, you know, the image or the perception or keeping up with the Joneses. It should never be that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you want a bigger house. Why do you want a bigger house? Is there a reason behind it? If you can afford it and you said you want a space and you want a media room and that's fine. But if you want a bigger house and you know your income can't support that, but you want the bigger house because um it just
Because in
shows
some cases, what people are going to think of you, or what you think people
uh
are going to think of you, because sometimes people don't even care,
a lot of time people don't care, right?
So,
It's but
so
it's but
yes,
it's how you so and I
yeah,
always say this, right? So what do you think people actually think? Sometimes a lot of times it's not even that. It's just a reflection of how you view the world, and
yeah,
you're actually projecting that onto people as if that's what they believe.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So consumerism, yeah, it can really suck you, and it can this really reposition you in terms of your finances in a negative way and throw you completely off balance. So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
I
really need to be
remember.
more
So
aware of how we spend, and just noting. Let's say this. I share that experience with you. Back in my younger days, when I was in my teenage years, maybe young 20s, I would just buy things just because I could. Not necessarily that I could afford it, but I made it happen. And after buying it, yes, for the moment it felt good. I enjoyed it for the moment, but in most cases, after 2 weeks, getting used to it
you
means
lose
it
interest.
does, yeah, you lose interest, and it doesn't mean that much to you as it did when you
Yeah.
just bought it, right? So,
Yeah.
so really and truly, money really can't buy happiness.
No.
Happiness comes from
From
deep within you.
within,
Yes.
be from really and truly, and that's where self-love comes from, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
the outwardly, he will make me happy, getting the job will make you happy, being the ideal weight that will make me happy, having the plastic surgery will make me happy. Does it truly though? Right? So the fact that sometimes you're thinking outside of self that will make you
yeah.
happy, that in itself should be a red flag for you. You have to go
Yes.
within what truly makes you, Dwayne, or me, Leisha, happy, um,
Right.
regardless of what other people will say and think and do, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and I feel like, again, we talk about things that we okay. So one of the things that it can be as simple as, for me, like, nothing. is more enjoyable for me than I like to travel. And when I remember one of my staff had said to me, "So why aren't you went to so why aren't you posted? I didn't see any pictures posted on Instagram or Facebook or blah blah blah." And I'm like, yeah, because I don't feel the need
Mm.
to um advertise. Like there was a time when I did, like I would post a few, and thank God, because sometimes you lose your pictures, and that's the only way you can access back your picture. Then, right?
Yeah.
There was a time that I would post a few, but with self-awareness, I realized that okay, so it's not like I need the validation of other people. If I have the experience and I want to send, we have a family chat, I would send pictures there, and it's all for me is about the experience. It's not something that I necessarily need to share with the world or other people, right? And
Right.
again,
Exactly.
it's I don't need, I'm at this point where I don't need validation from anyone else but myself. and
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 that's
that was
powerful.
a huge turning point for me.
Yes. 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 That's absolutely powerful. Yeah. And so, how do we take people from financial stress to
Financial freedom.
financial freedom?
I guess the old conditioning, it takes time for us to um let that go, right? But I guess the first thing again is, besides being authentic to yourself, is what do I truly want, right? What do I truly desire? And am I holding on to things and accumulating things that matters nothing to me, right? I always
Yeah.
say and that means decluttering your mind, decluttering your home, decluttering your
Oh yeah.
vehicle, right? Getting rid of
That's
certain things
that's
because you're leaving
special.
space, you know, metaphysically leaving space for things to um, flow in naturally, right? Of that. Sometimes it's books. I have a lot of books, right? But there's
Yeah.
some that you can get rid of because you're not going to read it again. You've read it, you're done. You probably won't. Me, sometimes I go back and read old books, but giving those things away, decluttering, in the whole concept of spring cleaning, right?
Yeah.
So that you
And a
can
part of
start
my
fresh.
yeah, a part of my awareness journey is observing, like you mentioned, clothes, right? Um, I would be buying clothes, and well, I was thinking to myself at one point in time, really, do I need all of this? Because just being no more, just having a heightened sense of awareness now, I was asking myself, but why do you need all these clothes when you only like just a few, and you just keep repeating the few that you really like,
So
and you
true.
don't wear the others that you really don't like that much. So what's the sense in accumulating all these clothes? So I've changed. Just going out buying clothes, but just buying clothes. Say no. I buy clothes because I want to. I really like it, or something of that sort. Yeah.
Or for me, like having quality clothes. So for me, okay, having a few that I really like that are high quality, towards having an overflowing closet with things that if you wear them a few times they fall apart. There's other
Yeah.
things that you think, like I think about,
Yes.
right? I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
cost, I'm talking about quality, right?
Right.
Another thing in terms of self-awareness is guarding. I call it guarding your thoughts, right? um take 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes of your time, and in that 5 minutes, you don't have to be like hyper focused on it, but just think of the things that cross your mind, or every time you're aware of something that you said that is negative, write it down and see how often do you say things that are negative, or um
Or misaligned to your
aligned with
your prayers
what you
and
have,
what you exactly.
right? And the more you guard your thoughts, the more you can catch yourself and reframe. I'm big on reframing it, okay? Because there's always a
Hmm.
positive spin on it. And I Another thing is gratitude. Show gratitude for what you have. Show gratitude. When if you said, okay, there's a car that I want, and you know the exact car and the color, and you see the car, you just imagine yourself this new smell, you in the driver's seat, and you know you're driving around, and the scenery as you pass that, and you know the smile on your face, and you know you hold on to that moment, and as you see that moment, you're like, oh, this is a moment, this is how I feel, this is what I want. And then be true to that. Yeah, every moment you touch back on that moment, because that's something you want, that's your vision, that's what some people do, vision boards. But
Yeah,
it's a step above the vision boards, is just put up there, and then you think, okay, and forget about it. It's something that you tap into, you go and you touch, and whatever, what am I doing towards that? And not everything has to be action, 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 action. Sometimes there are times when you just really need to be still
yeah,
and take the time to create
yes, exactly.
in your mind, right? So,
Yeah.
sorry.
So just circling back to creating wealth, um, more to indicate to people, I think it's going to be powerful when people realize that most of the stress that you may have, um, due to financial circumstances, really keeps you in survival mode, right?
Right.
And to break that cycle, you certainly need to think about creating uh, a safety net, a breathing room. And what is that? That is actually a little savings that can help you in case of emergencies. It frees your mind of keep worrying about, oh, if this should happen, what would I do? Or things can go wrong and then I'm screwed. You
So how would
that
you so
fueling that negative thought.
right?
That's
So
what
yeah,
you don't
because
want to be doing.
negativity
Yeah,
begets negativity. But you know,
yeah.
how would you say a person who is living paycheck to paycheck, how they can um achieve this freedom in terms of putting a little bit away for a rainy day? What would your
Yeah.
recommendation be? Like, what steps can
So
you take?
yeah,
Or
and
what's work
it
for you?
yeah, it goes back to what we're talking about, just recognizing that you don't necessarily need to buy some of these things that you're buying, right?
Like the
Just
expensive lattes.
yeah, buying 30 and $40 meals daily, or too often where you just can't sustain it. If you work your way down from doing restaurants 3 times a week to 2 times a month, um, you cook from home, that will put you in a better financial place. Every little bit adds up. So, looking at all different aspects of your life, how you could save a little bit here and there, and just recognizing that I'm not doing this for any reason than for developing myself to be in a better place, right? And once you're able to save a little bit at a time and being committed to that with time, you'll find that saving $10 a day over 30 days, that's the $300, right? So every little bit counts. And if you can do $300 for 12 months, then that's $3,600. And that's something you could have aside each year, 3,600 each year. That's starting from $10 a day, how better you would be, having, how much better you'd feel having that breathing room, as I mentioned. After 3 years, you'll be looking at over $10,000, and that gives you the breathing room that you've always been looking for. $10 a day. So a simple approach like that, people be surprised how far we will take you.
As we're wrapping up, so what is one takeaway that you'd like, or something that nugget that you want the audience to leave with?
Yeah, I think the there's a phrase from Neville Goddard. You had mentioned it earlier, but we really didn't develop on it. And it's assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled,
Fulfilled.
right? And what it means is essentially living in the end, right? And that's another phrase from Neville Goddard. Live exactly as how you would want to be living. You have to be thinking as if you're actually having those experiences. Um, you need to embody that, um, the emotions that will be experienced in such cases. And how do you do that? If you want to know how a millionaire would feel and how the experiences a millionaire have, go learn about what millionaires do, right? Go research millionaires, start thinking like them.
Final takeaway is, Louise Hayes talk about, life supports me in every possible way. So positive affirmation, but not just saying it, because you really have to trust the process. Okay. I believe so. People, we talk about creating your experience from the mind. How do you manifest the life that you want to live?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right? How do you design the life that you truly desire? So
Yeah.
it starts with self-monitoring. It starts with gratitude, and also when you allow yourself to receive and trust in the process. Okay.
Yeah.
You're doing all the work, you're doing all the right thing, then trust the process, right?
Yes.
Don't second guess yourself. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Very two very powerful points to leave with the audience. Yeah, it was really great having
Um,
these discussions.
always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yes. So we look forward to our future discussions, and I'm
Absolutely.
sure we're gonna have a lot more. Um, we're gonna go much more in depth in some of these areas we've discussed, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you. And
Thank you.
thank you for coming, everyone. If today's conversation inspired you,
Challenge your perspective, or encourage you to see new possibilities for your life,
we'd love for you to share this episode with someone who may benefit from it.
remember, a meaningful life doesn't happen by accident,
It is created through awareness, intention,
and conscious choice.